Hey guys, today we are going to read a chapter at a time. So we're going to read one chapter of the book, What Was Ellis Island? In the third grade, we have started an immigration unit, and so this is just a book that goes a little bit deeper into what was Ellis Island. So I hope you enjoy. So today we are reading the first chapter in What Was Ellis Island by Patricia, Brennan, Demuth. What was Ellis Island? The Island of Hope. Many people thought of Ellis Island that way. Millions and millions of immigrants came to this tiny island off New York City from 1892 to 1954. Ellis Island was the first stop in America. It had to be. Until they passed through there, newcomers could not set foot inside the United States. Immigrants are people who leave their homeland behind, hoping for a better life. The immigrants stopping at Ellis Island mostly came from all over Europe. Many were escaping from terrible problems. Food was scarce in their homeland. There were no jobs. They were treated badly because of their religion. Although poor in money, immigrants were rich in hope. America meant freedom, jobs, and safety. America was on everyone's lips, said one boy who came from Poland. We talked about America. We dreamt about America. We all had one wish, to be in America. The immigrants traveled across the Atlantic Ocean, crammed into ships that generally took 7 to 10 days to reach America. After hard days at sea, they entered New York Harbor and caught sight of two small islands. One was Liberty Island, where the Statue of Liberty held up a flaming torch. A poem at the base of the statue welcomed the immigrants to America. The second was Ellis Island, just a few hundred yards away. The greeting there was not as friendly. Ellis Island was a testing center run by the U.S. government. Its purpose was to check immigrants and weed out the sick and unfit. The vast majority of immigrants passed the tests. They were free to go ashore and start their new life. But over the years, at least 250,000 immigrants failed the tests. Those unlucky ones were not allowed into the United States. Sent back on the ships, they returned to where they had come from. This earned Ellis Island its other name, the Island of Tears. The Statue of Liberty. For over 125 years, the Statue of Liberty has stood tall as a symbol of freedom in New York Harbor. The statue was a gift of friendship from the people of France to the people of the United States. In 1903, part of a poem from by Emma Lazarus entitled "The New Colossus" was inscribed on the base. Its famous last lines are a ringing welcome from America to its immigrants. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Chapter 1. A Scrap of Land. At first, Ellis Island was just a small scrap of empty land, a little over 3 acres. It barely stuck out of the water at high tide. The local Native Americans called it Gull Island. Seagulls were the only creatures that lived there. Around the time of the Revolutionary War, a farmer named Samuel Ellis bought the land. Although he later sold it, the island would keep his name. Then, in 1808, the U.S. government became the island's new owner. For a long while, the island was only used for storing guns to protect the harbor. No one dreamed that one day Ellis Island would become the gateway to America for many waves of immigrants. In fact, for most of the 1800s, the U.S. government did not control immigration. There was an open-door policy. That meant that any immigrant who wanted to could move there. The states were in charge of keeping track of the newcomers. The flow of immigrants remained fairly slow until the mid-1800s. Then a huge wave of people started to pour into the country. 9 out of 10 came from Ireland, England, or Germany. The state of New York alone admitted 8 million immigrants from 1855 to 1890. They came through a station called Castle Garden at the tip of New York City. Finally, in 1890, the federal government took over immigration from the individual states. It wanted to start testing newcomers to make sure they were free of disease and able to support themselves. Where would it build the first immigration station? Ellis Island seemed the perfect place. It was located in New York Harbor, where so many ships from Europe already docked. Yet the island was too tiny for the job. No problem. The island was made bigger. engineers built a seawall away from the island. It was set deep into the harbor floor. They filled the area in between the wall and the island with tons of landfill, dirt, sand, and stone. At that time, vast tunnels, miles long, were being dug in New York City for a subway system. A lot of the landfill for Ellis Island came from the dirt shoveled out to make way for the subways. Ellis Island greeted its first immigrants on New Year's Day, 1892. An Irish girl named Annie Moore was the first to step foot on the island. Just 15 years old, she had brought her 2 younger brothers to America. Their parents were already there, so the 3 children made the long voyage by themselves. Today, a statue of brave Annie stands on the island. Then, only 5 years after opening, the buildings on Ellis Island burned to the ground. Plans for rebuilding started immediately. The old buildings had been made of wood. The new ones were made of red brick and stone. Now Ellis Island was completely fireproof. Right from the start, Ellis Island was swamped with more people than it could handle. During its first year, Ellis Island admitted nearly 450,000 immigrants. The numbers kept growing. In 1898, a second island, also made of landfill, was added. Still, Ellis Island was too small to handle the crush of people. So in 1906, a third and final island was added. Annie Moore, 1877 to 1924. Annie Moore had a special 15th birthday on January 1st, 1892. She was the first immigrant to land at Ellis Island. Officials handed the rosy-cheeked Irish girl a $10 gold piece for the honor. Leaving County Cork in Ireland 12 days earlier, Annie had traveled in steerage on the steamship Nevada. She brought her 2 younger brothers, Anthony, 11, and Philip, 7, with her. Despite her happy arrival, Annie faced the hard life of many immigrants. She settled with her parents in the Lower East Side of New York City and never moved more than a few blocks away. Marrying a bakery clerk, Annie gave birth to 11 children. Though 5 died as infants, Annie died in 1924 at age 47. Now complete, Ellis Island was really 3 islands in one. From 3.3 acres, it had grown to 27.5 acres. The island was like a separate city in the harbor. There were 33 buildings, including a hospital, laundry, and power plant to make electricity. There were places to exchange foreign money, buy railroad tickets, and send telegrams. But the biggest and most important building by far was the main building, a massive structure. It was where all immigrants went when they first stepped on dry land, and where they found out if the United States would become their new home, or if they would be sent back to their native land. Early Irish immigrants. Between 1845 and 1855, more than 1 million Irish immigrants arrived in America. Back in Ireland, blight was ruining the potato crops. Without their staple food, 1 million Irish starved to death, and the terrible time became known as the potato famine. By 1855, Ireland had lost 1/4 of its population to death or immigration. In the United States, the Irish still faced hard times. Prejudice against the Catholic religion was widespread in a country that was mostly Protestant. Shops and factories posted signs that said, "No Irish need apply." Irish workers survived by shoveling coal, unloading ships, and cleaning yards. The huge wave of incoming Irish transformed the populations of New York City and Boston. In 1847, when the first Irish masses arrived, New York City had a total population of 372,000, nearly double that number of Irish, about 650,000, flooded into the city during the next 10 years. I hope you guys enjoyed chapter 1 of What Was Ellis Island. I will read you some more of it later, and this would be a really great time to ask your families and ask your parents about your family heritage and where they came from before they came to America. So enjoy time with your family, and I'll see you tomorrow.